welcome back to another episode of Behind the Blind podcast, brought to you by Tetra Hearing. Go check them out at tetrahearing.com. We're in a little bit of a different area. We're home.
Well, kind of home.
What? Yeah, this is I guess Nate's home for a little while.
Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, this is it. This is the final countdown of the 23-24 season, and I'm a little tired.
We're not wearing thin, are we?
A little tired. A little tired.
Are we losing a couple paces here?
Well, I'm getting older, so I can definitely tell it's the end of season. Dakota Thurn, Alex, of course, Nate Meyer, and a brand new, never before seen guest, Brandon Callway, everyone.
Call Y. Everybody says it wrong. It's all right.
Call Y.
It's always been Y?
I've only known you for about 10 years.
It's call Y.
It's call Y, not way.
All right.
I thought you said call Y.
My life is shook right
Call
now.
Y.
I've literally always said it that way.
Yeah.
I just never
I
say his last
hear it
name.
about 10 different ways. So I
Well,
don't
here's the
correct
thing
people
is
a whole
I'm actually very sophisticated, so the way that I would pronounce it, it's different.
Yeah.
Man. Well, welcome.
I hear
Thanks for
call
joining
we,
us.
call way.
Look, Dicey-Doo gets pronounced
Yeah.
all sorts of different ways, so I feel you.
Yeah.
I feel
Glad
you.
to be here.
So I guess we can start with home, right? We always talk about doing our home episodes. We're excited because we're back. We're in familiar territory. We're with family. We're with friends. We're doing the thing. And you would think that would be like the easy button, right? Like, oh, we're home. We're just going to cruise right along. And we're just going to beat up on some geese and things are going to be good. But really, especially this year, home can be quite a bit of a struggle. The first part of that being when we go on a trip, it's like, we're out of town, we're on a hunting trip, right? The guys are on a hunting trip. So we get up, we hunt, we scout in the afternoon, we shoot the podcast, we do all the stuff. But when you're home, it's like, I got to run to the office real quick and do a little bit of work, or, I got to go pick up the kid from daycare because I actually am home. So it's actually more of a struggle for everybody to get together when you're home because you're pulled in 19 different directions.
Right.
And just saying, sorry, babe, I'm out of town for 5 days.
Yeah. That and one of the, like we were talking about it this week too, is like, if the stars don't align here, like, it can be not that great of hunting. Like, all the stars have to line. We have to get the right amount of weather. We have to, like, and not too much wet, like what happened this year. It can't get too cold too fast. It can't unthaw too fast. Like, it's so circumstantial of like how it, now, can it be good? Yes. We've seen it where it's been incredible at home, but there's also like these different variables to where it's like, sometimes it could suck here,
Nate, do you want to touch on that a little bit, how this season's been?
All the years I've hunted, this has been the toughest, just because of the way we didn't have the birds when the weather hit. That front hit in and just wiped the roost out. That they just didn't have enough geese that are normally here. It's like we got our first wave of geese when that front hit, and they just couldn't keep a roost. And then they moved into some areas where permission's either tough or into city limits, and you couldn't hunt them. And then they just hold up there, and then you get the warm up, and you think they're going to go searching for water, and like when our pond hunting is the best that it usually is, and you see that weather pattern coming, you're like, oh my God, we're here going to crush them. And then we're dealing with what we're dealing now. Something I've never seen is those geese didn't search. They fed all day because we got into that fog. We had fog.
Yeah, we had fog for like 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable.
Yeah, with the warm up, with it melting all that snow and the moisture in the morning, so that would burn off, and so they would hang out in the fields till 3 or 4, and then right after that we get hit with the sun. Turns to 60 degrees and they start hitting pastures, and they're just hanging out in the pastures. They might go out and feed for 30 minutes in the evening and then come back and roost. And
like right at dark too.
Yeah.
So it's tough. And then now we're dealing with birds. They're not even stopping on the reverse, and still 3/4 of the water is locked up. And
No,
it's
they're
just like,
saying,
where are they going? Why are they flying over us if everything else is locked? And there's some big roosts they're just staying on the big stuff.
yeah, I think in the last, especially 3 days, obviously you're going to expect to see a little bit of reverse migration when it's 60 degrees outside. But usually that doesn't matter because we have usually, again,
we have the wintering geese here.
We have so many birds here, and we just never got. I never really was like, man,
Saturday.
There's a lot of geese
Yeah,
around.
there's a
Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Once the fog lifted, like if we would have, had it been not foggy those 3 mornings, you would have really seen the amount of geese we had. Because from what I saw, from when I hunted earlier in the week, that week, to what I saw that Friday, like I went out, the clients was like, there's a hope and a prayer. I know we got 2 good days possibly lined up. So if this one doesn't go as planned, at least I know they're going to get their geese. And sure shit, we got into migrators, and it was a phenomenal hunt. And then Saturday, which I thought was going to be a good one, we zeroed.
Mm-hmm.
And Sunday I knew was shaping up. Depending when the fog let go, I knew that was going to be one of the days.
Yeah, that fog was tough. That was very frustrating. And like you said, we looked at the forecast and said, man, everything is locked besides, some stuff that we have kept open. Or
the year we won the
some of
Super Bowl
really
was very similar weather we just got.
Yep.
But we weren't as cold to get. I don't think people realized how thick our ice was. I mean, I cut almost 13 inches of ice.
10, 12 inches.
Like, that's insane. You almost drive on it here, and you never.
That doesn't happen, right? It's we look forward to that middle of January because it always freezes. We always get hard water, but it's a gradual swing. It's typical winter weather in January, 30s, 40s, and then you're like, okay, cool. Now we're getting some like teens for a high, some singles for a low. For over a week, 2 week span, you get decent ice, and we can keep good holes open, and the birds just pile in because they can keep the really big water open.
Yeah.
And it was like this year that front that came in when we were in Wyoming, we're hunting in negative 40-degree wind, and it was dang near as cold
Negative
here.
28.
Yeah.
Was
And
that Saturday?
it just went from like nothing to everything is completely frozen with an unreal amount of ice to now we have 65 degrees. There's still ice, but there's some water open, but there wasn't really birds, but now the birds that were here are leaving. It just
it's been a weird hand.
Very strange end of the season.
Yeah, I've never seen them do anything like this.
Yeah.
And normal roosts, like big city roosts, are void of the birds that they normally have.
Yeah.
That was weird too. It's like there was like these little holes of them too. Like the birds, like it was like there was like a hole over here, like a hole over here, like, but it wasn't like.
And guys, some
we
guys
never got filled out.
There's guys shooting them somewhat consistency. But it just depends on how long you can keep beating on the geese you have. Because once they're shot up, they're done. It's not like a continuous cycle like we're used to, where birds are trading around. They're not trading. They're staying to wherever they're at, and they're feeding in whatever fields in their particular area they're in, and they're not leaving. Nothing's venturing.
We had a pretty good hunt in the snow. What was that? Probably a week and a half ago. It was like maybe a couple days after we got back from Wyoming, because it was still really cold. Like it was the Friday we got back. Yeah, so just right after we got back, we had a pretty good hunt there. I think we shot like a 5-man or something in the snow. Had a fun one there. And then a couple days passed. We had a few hit and miss hunts because the fog really, it's one of those typical hunts where it's like, oh man, it was way foggier.
Well, you had that weekend where we were getting migrators. We got migrators that Friday from the north, and by the following Friday, we're getting reverse back from Saturday.
Right.
Yeah.
That is
that was the
That's
like
crazy.
little window.
One window.
And you know what? That's when we had all that fog in the mornings. We were
And
like
you couldn't
junk.
hunt 'em.
Yeah, and you couldn't hunt 'em.
You couldn't figure out where they were going. Like you didn't. From the time that they freed up and started feeding and started to transition into whatever they're going to go to, you had no time to find them. And that's what I struggled with. It's just like, I typically know this area is good. I know this is typically a good fly line. Just going to run a rig and hope that they fly within earshot so I can call out.
That we had dense fog too. Like it was like legit. Like it was not like go scout. It was like go to a roost pond and see if there's any that you can hear on the roost pond.
Which way do they going?
Yeah, like.
So we had that, and that was the fun part about that snow hunt, is that the best group we shot into all day were migrators coming from the north, because they were just peeling from the river. It was awesome. And a couple hunts in between there in that fog where we shot 6, 7, 8. One of those days we tried to wait them out, and then by like 2:00 we were like, all right, we can't wait any longer. And then as soon as you start picking up, it's like,
oh, it never fails.
Just every time. And of course, would they have really done it? I don't know, but they sure look like it every time you're in the water picking up floaters and things like that.
That and we're like, Yeah, the hunting's kind of been marginal, but like yesterday we beat on them. Like,
Yeah.
we kind of have some short-term memory loss. Like yesterday we straight beat on them.
Well, and that's what I was getting to is like we had the good hunt in the snow, had a couple mediocre hunts in the fall, could have been better. And it kind of shaped up to be where we went to one of our favorite places to hunt over the last couple of years, which is a spot that you guys have had for.
But I looked in that area tonight and there was nothing.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it?
Completely.
Monday or Tuesday, there was 2,000 to 3,000 sitting on it.
Yeah.
And I mean, we showed up yesterday morning. There's 500,
800 is the most on it. I don't know.
and yeah, you went up today, and there was
Zero.
I mean, they're just moving out in waves. That
Yeah.
And
So
we didn't shoot into any flocks. We didn't educate.
we didn't
we
shoot.
killed. We only had one goose.
We had
get
one
out.
goose get
Right.
out
One goose.
So we
get out
hunted
yesterday.
We hunted yesterday, had 7 guys total, including the 2 guys that were filming. So we were able to swap out. And like I said, it was mainly singles and pairs. I think one group was like a 3-pack and one was like a 4. But yeah,
Yeah.
like it wasn't like you were like, oh man, we were kind of laughing about it because typically it's like
flock on
well,
flock. Like
yeah,
stacked.
and then
It's
we'll
just-
shoot our limit, and as we're picking up, that's when they really start
Yeah.
boiling, and it never happened. It never happened. Like we shot some of those birds, saw an okay amount fly, right, that were going to pasture, but I mean, I wouldn't even say we saw 500, right?
I wouldn't
And then
think
it's
so.
like in that 24-hour span, they said,
Yep,
"See you
they're
later."
out.
You know, like one thing that I learned this year too is like, you know, like especially with around here, like, and we talked about it, like it's crucial to like not beat up on the spots and let them sit and let them build and stuff like that. But like when you get a year like this, you know, like there was one of the spots that you guys know that we've got typically is really freaking good. We had birds there, but it was like one of the situations where we were hunting other stuff, had other stuff, and we're like, let's just let it build. And then it was like,
They're gone.
gone.
Mhm.
And it's like, we could have got them there this year at that spot, but we just were like, had the intention of this is going to get better. This is going to get better. And
It's
like,
reliable.
Oh,
Yeah.
dang. We should have went in there and done that because we didn't even get a chance the rest of the season because they weren't even there.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Smoke them if you got them.
yeah.
Yeah.
This
It's just
year.
been an interesting year. It definitely has been an interesting year, and I think a lot of people can attest to the overly warm weather and the seemingly non-existent migration for a while. And then, I mean, really, I can tell you, especially the boys down in Oklahoma that we know loved that super hard freeze we got because it pushed more birds down there than they've ever seen. And some of those guys were shooting hundreds a day between lessers and snows and ducks.
Oh,
and
there
things.
was
so like,
there was some piles being
that
shot in
was
Kansas
the-
and Oklahoma.
yeah, that was the spot to
Those
be. So,
areas that didn't get the snow that had water features that don't freeze.
yeah.
I mean, they had to.
And
just
so
cover it
it's
up.
funny because you can just think it's just your location on any given year. We could say, man, this has been really tough. It's been kind of weird. Like we've had good hunts right here at home and we're going to continue to hunt until the end of season. But like, we're going to be like, man, this year was kind of tough. But those guys down in Oklahoma are going to go, man, that was
was
the best year we
incredible.
ever had.
Yeah.
We'll
Yeah.
never have a year like this
Yeah.
again, you know? So it's kind of funny how you can get on here and go, oh man, it's just been really hard. And someone can watch it and go, I mean, I don't know what they're talking about because
Yeah.
my year was phenomenal. So it's just like when we were in Wyoming, right? So those guys were having a little bit of a tough season because it was warm, not too much migration. And then we got there just in time to beat on some geese. Had a little difficulty because it got so cold.
Mhm.
But then that like 2-week stretch since we've been there,
After,
they are
yeah.
just wrecking on them, right? So it's literally just
Timing.
location, timing, like all the cards have just got to fall in your favor, and you can only play the hand that you're dealt. So you
Well,
just got to work with what you got.
that,
There's
no,
still some geese
I-
to go.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I think
We're
a
not
lot-
seeing the specs like the little
Yeah, we're not.
birds. The Richards aren't like
Right.
the usual stuff you see that when we typically get a reverse like with the weather we got. It's
Right.
not the same birds. Yeah,
Right.
We haven't seen the specs. Like,
started to see a little bit of it
Yeah.
today.
Mhm.
Yep, saw a
Snows are
few.
starting to roll, but
I think also like a common misconception about kind of like what we do too is like we don't get to necessarily just like go on these hunts when the timing's right, and like just like how we were talking about Oklahoma, like we had that trip scheduled in July. like those dates, this is when we're going, this is the time. So it's not like we get a phone call and like, hey, it's really good, you guys come down there. It's like, that's what's somewhat unique about our show, and somewhat is like, I think people don't realize how we do this, but it's here's our dates, and we're coming to tell what happens during those dates. Like, we could get really good hunting. Sometimes it happens. Like last year when we were in Tornado Alley and we hit that, like if it wasn't for that cold storm, we wouldn't have had that incredible hunt on that small water. Yep. But like, yeah, that's just part of it. Like, you get these dates, whatever happens in those dates, you got to roll with.
Yeah. So. And if anyone is unfamiliar, it's a lot of people will comment. They'll be like, man, I wish we could just hunt for a living like you guys do. And it's like, whoa, because we're no different than anybody watching this show. No different. We all have full-time jobs. We all have families. We all have other obligations. So it is the same thing. We're taking vacation time. We're doing that stuff just like you guys are. So we have to plan this. I mean, we already are scheduling dates for the next season and saying, okay, well, I can come on this one. I can do this one. Oh man, this is, Christmas time doesn't work for me. So that's why you see some different people on different episodes and things like that, because it's no different. We're trying to work around family schedules and work schedules and everything. So it's the same thing. It's, man, I wish that all I had to do was wait for a phone call and they say, hey man, it is loaded, right?
Get down here.
Because you would just be hopping around any flyway just at the perfect timing. That sounds like a dream come true, right? But we can't, right? Yeah. So we say, hey, we're going to Kansas these dates. We're going to go to Oklahoma these dates. We're going to go to Wyoming these dates. And whatever happens, right? Yeah. Like I said, you can only work with what you're dealt. So,
well, that, and like, we've been doing it long enough to like, those dates are strategically placed. Like, if we go there, if we go there that time, we should, if everything lines up, we should, like,
right.
If there's a reason why the home episode isn't the first week of goose season in Missouri. You know what I'm saying? Like, so
absolutely.
We've got it to where if we're there, it should be good, but it just, that's hunting. And sometimes it shakes like that.
Yep.
But it's realistic.
Yeah.
It's like,
you don't get them every time.
You don't get them every time.
As much as we want to.
You can watch as many hunting shows as you want and see people bang them up every single day, every single time.
The highlights.
But you see the highlights. You don't see necessarily the hard times.
Yeah. I mean, look, for instance, we set 50 dozen, 30 dozen sleepers.
Yeah,
probably 50. What? Yeah. So we probably set 50 dozen Canada decoys today, and we shot
7.
So I mean,
that's not a good ratio.
Seven's been my number all year.
It's not a good ratio,
and sometimes you don't.
I think I've shot 7 like 7 fucking times.
I feel like we're in Mound City.
With that said, what's the plan for the rest of the week? Tomorrow we're gonna hunt a pond that's in a really good traffic area.
Yeah, so it's a little hope and a prayer. I mean,
yeah, we know that there's birds. We know that there's still birds around.
Been birds in the area.
It's going to be 60, partly sunny, I think is what the weather said. Decent winds.
Surprisingly, like, we went tonight to put a ripper in it and half the pod was open. So that's good. Did not think to see that because everything else is still locked. I don't know if it just got a bunch of sun and wind on it today and opened it, but
it must have.
Good.
It must have.
It looks good.
All the big water especially is completely.
It's supposed to be cloudy tomorrow, so maybe they'll get up and not just sit. It's been sunny and warm, so maybe tomorrow they'll go for a rip and reposition themselves wherever. But again, like, every time we think we've lost geese, it's when we get conditions like this and they're just holed up. I mean, some backyards you can't see that. There might be 300 behind the guy's house and you never know.
Right.
They're just in the neighborhoods. They're not.
Yep.
They're not leaving very far. So
that, and geographically, like, this area too, like, there's like these little holes that they can hide in too. We've got like hills and trees. I mean, it's hard to scout in Missouri. It's not sections and driving down.
No one's ever tried to follow birds in Missouri. You're not missing out on anything, because I'll go to Kansas and I'm like, oh, cool, there's birds 7 miles that way.
Yeah, let's follow them for 30 minutes and not lose them.
But
you
in
get
Missouri,
into big ag ground, like,
yeah, you can. Yeah, you can.
North of the river and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely.
For sure.
But around here, you try and follow some birds and you're like, okay, I think they went behind that tree, but there's no way to get back in there. It can be very difficult, and it's kind of a somewhat difficult area to hunt, but
also unique in its own way, like with having like
ponds and
having that many ponds, and also the ponds like having power to the ponds, like that's also super unique with like where we're at.
Our niche. We have our niche spots.
When the conditions line
when
up,
the conditions are right,
it's the best thing you'll ever see. And you'll never decoy big honkers like that. It's what every goose hunter dreams of, is being able to hunt them like that. Like the hunt we had on Sunday, like that is what keeps me up at night. Like, that's why I keep doing it, is when you do get that right day on that first thaw. And
we shot every goose finishing in like 10 yards.
Could have ran
right in the hole.
30 guys through the group that day.
Dude, we shot a 7-man and one bird got out all day.
Yeah. That was probably whose fault?
Pretty fast. I was gonna say.
Yeah, it wasn't my fault.
It wasn't me because I wasn't in the blind.
So.
Who can we blame it on?
You weren't in the blind?
No, I wasn't in the blind.
Well, half the time he's not in the blind. He's out walking around doing something else.
The camera guy's not in the blind half the time. Like, he's usually further behind me.
No, I'm trying to rope Nate in. I'm like, hey, man, get back over
about
here.
A county over. Just,
So we got that traffic pond tomorrow. And then I think we have an idea for Saturday, which has been a pretty good, it's been looking pretty good for a while. Some birds that are very comfortable. Now, whether it's kind of hit and miss on the weather, whether we're supposed to get any rain Saturday. Definitely rain on Sunday and colder. But if it's not going to rain and be that cold on Saturday, which it's kind of not looking that way, maybe we just hunt the pond. But there's a lot of birds in the area. It looks pretty good. So we got a few things set up for the next couple days. And man, it's just
we probably got another bad one in the system.
No,
another,
I'm sure
another banger, and probably another marginal hunt.
Yep.
I mean, it's just consistency at the end of the day is what it matters about.
It's fun to be able to just to be home, and like I said, there are definitely things about home where it's like, man, this can be really tough. But then there's obviously the other part about home where it's like, we're home.
We're taking two guys that have never been goose hunting tomorrow too. So they
taking two brand new guys that never been, right?
Brand new, never been goose hunting.
That'll be fun.
Nice.
So that'll be really fun.
Be interesting.
Heck yeah.
Hopefully we get at least one group to put on a show. So get that first time vibe.
2 minutes from my house today, and tomorrow we're gonna hunt 10 minutes. So yeah, home is very clutch sometimes.
But we ran 45 the other days.
Yeah, that's true.
You never know.
It was kind of crazy.
Could be an hour. You could be.
We had a longer drive yesterday and got up at the same time and met at the same time. We had a way longer drive, but we just did not set the spread that we set today.
A lot easier setup.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, we trailer did. We would have been. Plus, nobody we hunted with a bunch of guys that didn't know what was how to set.
Yeah.
I can run more efficiently with 3 guys that that know better than I can 8. Picking up is great because everybody can pick up.
Mm-hmm.
I was really happy to have that many people picking up.
I would rather just be left alone. Like I'll set the whole thing by myself. And then it's just easy. You don't have to worry about fixing anything. You don't have to worry about hurting somebody's feelings if you try to correct them. And
yeah.
Well,
all right, fine. I think we came to a settlement.
What's that?
He said
we're just gonna let. He said, "I think you guys just leave me alone, and I will set this entire thing."
It worked out great for me 2 days in a row, showing up after it's already been set up.
Yeah.
So, shout out to work and my wife for those 2 things. Yeah. But
I need to get 2 of those. I need to get those.
No, you don't.
No, you don't. Neither one.
Do it.
I want to know, like, if you guys are watching this and commenting, I want to know how your season has gone. Just kind of curious if you guys have struggled or there's been highlight moments or kind of how you guys have dealt with the weather, because I always like hearing people's stories about how their season's gone or what they've seen, because like I said earlier, what we were talking about is like everyone kind of can have a different opinion based upon the year and their location.
Yeah. If you had good hunts, send us the Onyx pins in the comments. Yeah, we would love that.
We'll bring the spread.
Yeah.
Nate will set it.
Double entry, the phone number.
We'll bring it. Nate'll set it. You're all good.
Yeah,
exactly.
So show up and hunt. But well, I guess are we gonna do this again tomorrow night?
Yep.
Next couple nights in a row.
Yep.
Okay. So hopefully we bring you some good news from tomorrow's hunt. But
and also leave in the comments who you want on the pod tomorrow. so we can force some other
Yeah, let's get
faces
some new
on
faces on here.
Yeah.
Right? It was nice having
here. Yeah, let's hear in the
I've
comments.
enjoyed it.
Brandon on.
That's right.
So, yeah, from all of us here at Heartland Waterfowl, thanks for tuning in. Again, thanks to Tetra Hearing for putting on this podcast. Check them out at tetrahearing.com. And with that, I, Al Borland, bid you adieu.
I'll have to ask Ronnie what the giveaway is. Yeah.
I don't know if there is one.